I want to start with something that I carried with me since my mom. Is Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. So I grew up in Saudi Arabia. We did attend underground churches. They were in gymnasiums. We had a Ramco employee called a special teacher. So the special teacher was hired as the pastor for the churches. My upbringing was fantastic. Saudi Arabia is a wonderful place to grow up. Middle of the oil patch, our oil patch, and at 15 I went to boarding school. My brother's sitting here. He was going to the University of Texas. This is the first time we had a profound, impact with God. Is my brother was walking across the street in 6th Street during winter break, and he was hit by a car, drunk driver. And my mom and dad and I were on our way back to Saudi Arabia. And they called us and they said, make preparations for a funeral. He's not going to be, there's no way he can live with this. So my dad and mom got on their knees and prayed from the depths of their soul. And that was the first time I really understood what it was to go to God in devout prayer. We prayed and prayed. We reached out to friends and people praying for him all over the world. Now my brother has a master's degree in education. He's living successfully in Brazil, teaching, and just an absolute miracle. I went on to trade after I graduated from college. I went on to trade. The reason I started trading is my dad was working for Aramco, and he said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to make some money." And he said, "Well, probably not a good idea. The oil business is kind of cyclical, and why don't you try this business?" So I went to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, worked my way up, started as a mail boy. That was the only job I could get. Worked my way onto the floor, and eventually made my way onto the trading floor, and learned how to trade. Called scalping, in and out really quickly. So I was doing 500-600 trades a day, and I did pretty well. I was in a time where it's very volatile, and they're offering electronically traded products. So I did an arbitrage. So I did that for 13 years. After the 13th year, the industry completely evolved to AI and automated trading. So it's all the high-frequency trading algorithms took over, and all of us trying to crunch numbers in our head, we couldn't do it as quickly as the computers. So we were stuck. The floor is emptied, and I was stuck thinking, I'm in my 30s, well, what am I supposed to do? So my dad was just retiring. My mom and dad both just retired, and we were looking around for an opportunity. And they were in Panama. We found a little opportunity where we could buy diesel in the mainland and deliver diesel to islands. Honduras, a little island in Honduras called Roatan, and a bunch of fishing fleet. They had lobster boats, bunch of lobster boats that were supplying lobster to the United States, and they were being gouged by the government on their diesel prices. So we thought, aha, here's an opportunity. So we ended up buying a 180-foot ship. You can show that. That's it right there. That was a big step. I didn't know anything about ships. Now I know a little bit more. But The Precon Express, that was the ship that we owned. It was named after my two sons, Preston and Connor. There was a lot of work there. I was in the engine room constantly, dry dock. We had a hole in the hull one time, so I dove underneath. I have a scuba diving license. I dove underneath, put a wooden peg in the hull, and stopped it for 3 or 4 months so we could sail and make some money until we could go to dry dock. So did what you had to do. So we sailed successfully for 7 years, moving back and forth. We moved a lot of diesel, and kind of proud of that because we provided a lot of small businesses with an opportunity to make some money, and they'd be throwing all their money away to diesel to the diesel sellers, and we were giving them subsidized diesel. So with my brother's accident, my mom stopped everything she did. My dad went back to Saudi Arabia to provide for us, provide insurances and money. My mom stopped everything she had. She stopped her career. She stopped everything for my brother. She prayed with him daily, incessantly, every single day. He went from a coma for 9 days to, okay, motor skills. You're not going to have any motor skills, but maybe you'll be able to communicate, to what you see now. He's a really bright, functional, wonderful person. So when my mom was diagnosed with leukemia, the first thought was drop everything and help her out. That's our priority. So we were sailing back and forth. We got a trip to Dominican Republic. We didn't know anything about Dominican Republic. We'd always been in the Panama and Honduras, Guatemala, Belize area. It was a far sail, but we were paid well. So I said, all right, fine, we'll take this load over to Dominican Republic. We ended up there, and once you're in that region of the world, it's tough to come back because say for us, this is a slow vessel, and it was a 14-day sail. And so that's a lot of diesel burning. We had two Cat engines. So we're trying to figure out how we're gonna move around and what we're gonna do. A gentleman that we knew of, we knew the name. One of our clients in Honduras, who owned a dry dock. He owned Carnival Cruise Line. They're leasing his property. Very well respected. He's a mayor of Rotan. Very respected family. His cousin operated this diesel trading company, and he said, yeah, my cousin is looking for a vessel. So I flew into the Dominican Republic, looked at his vessel. He had his own trading vessel. The bow was cut off, and they were doing all sorts of construction. And he said, yeah, I'm going to be out of business for the next 6 months, and I need a vessel. So okay, fantastic. We have a vessel. He said, there's one caveat here. I want a dry lease. A dry lease means that it's no crew. So our crew had been working for us, some of them for 7 years. And these guys they're Honduran, and there's not a lot of opportunity in Honduras. So it's tough to let our guys go. Really had no choice. So let all our guys go, send them back to Honduras. And what I found out now is that he called his son, and he said, son, we need to get some crew on this vessel. We had 8 crew on board. So he brought his son and his crew over to Dominican Republic. I was waiting for the official turnover. As soon as he get his chief engineer on board, I can let my chief engineer go, and the contracts are signed and everything's released. He got his crew in, and I brought my chief engineer. I said, thanks so much, and appreciate all the time. Let him go. His chief engineer was the only crew member that spoke English well, and his son as well. But I went down to the engine room. I said, please, don't destroy our engines. We've rebuilt the engines twice already, and please. And he said, yeah, don't worry about it. I know what I'm doing. So I went up to sign the contract, and I'll never forget this feeling. I've said this before. I'm not a person that really thinks about speaking in tongues or any kind of physical interaction with God. But this one moment in my life never happened before, never happened again. When I signed that contract, my stomach physically twisted up. And I thought, whoa, oh, that's interesting. That kind of hurt. And I realize now God was talking to me. And now I listen. That's two things that I carry with me now is I listen as much as I possibly can, try to separate, filter out everything else around me, listen to God, and my unbelievable value for a community like you guys. I love community. I love this association of Christian men. And I'll explain to you how valuable these type of associations to me is and why. When I signed that contract, they took the vessel away. And they were sailing for a month, no problems. We had a problem with our winch, and I knew we had a problem with our winch. So I get a phone call, month in, the lease was due. It was a substantial lease, it was good money for us. And I get a phone call, and the owner of the company said, "Hey, Larry, you have a problem with your winch? And there's also the authorities on your boat. They're doing a routine check. It's and you need to come down here and answer some questions on behalf of the boat." I said, "Yeah, no problem." I had no suspicion, no reason to doubt what he's doing. So I said, "I'll be there tomorrow morning." So that was a Sunday afternoon. He called me. Monday morning, 6 a.m. I was on the flight. 9 o'clock in the morning, I was in Dominican Republic. Rent a car. I drive over. He tells me where I get on the phone, and he tells me where the boat is, and we meet at the dock. Okay, so I go into the dock, and I walk into the vessel, and there's guys with machine guns on the deck of the boat, all covered in masks, black masks. And I said, "What exactly is going on here? What are they looking for? What's the problem? That's not a winch issue." And he said, they're all speaking Spanish. I don't speak Spanish at all. But they're jabbering back and forth, and he's communicating on my behalf. And so at the end of the conversation, this lasted maybe 30 minutes. At the end of the conversation, they said, "Do you have any questions?" And I said, "Well, questions about what?" I mean, the guy that leased the vessel from us asked me this question, interpreting from the head guy, the head military guy. And I said, I don't know. I said, "Just please, whatever you guys doing, don't tear up the ship. It's expensive, and we have to do a lot of work, and it's just please." They said, "No, we're just a routine check. Go ahead and leave." So they said, "Leave." I left the ship, and the following day, nobody answers their phones. And I'm in Dominican Republic. I know one guy, because we delivered diesel there one time, calling around to everybody, can't find anybody. And finally, the guy that we sold diesel to happened to be a Christian guy. I went to church with him while I was in Dominican Republic the first time dropping off fuel. And he said, "Larry," he said, "you need to meet me tomorrow morning." I said, "Yeah, okay, no problem." So he's the only guy that's answering his phone. So the next day I went and met him at Dunkin' Donuts. And he shows me a newspaper. And this is what he shows me. That's the newspaper. That's 1,000 kilograms of cocaine. I mean, I don't even know what that is. I mean, I just dropped. To be honest with you, I started crying. What do you do with that? I said, what's happening, and what do I do now? And he said, I don't know. I suggest you go to the U.S. Embassy. I said, okay, can you take me? He said, yeah. So he took me to the U.S. Embassy, left my car there, and I went to the U.S. Embassy, and I walked in, and I said, listen, I have a problem. I said, there are drugs found on my boat. I need to do something. They said, well, you need to get a lawyer. I said, okay, can you guys give me a lawyer? And they said, yeah, sure. They printed out 5 pages with probably 40 different lawyers on there and said, pick one. And I said, well, there's somebody that specific you can tell me that to talk to? No, we can't refer one over the other, and you have to go ahead and pick on your own. So I went back to my friend. I said, well, here's the list. And he said, I have a friend that is a lawyer. I said, well, does a person deal with 1,000 kilograms of drugs? And he goes, well, I don't know, but he's a lawyer. So I said, well, at least you know him or her or whoever it is. So he took me over, and it was a lady, and she said, okay, come with me, and I'll take you to the DA's office. I said, okay. She was on their hand, just stay here, and I'll go to the DA's office, and I'll find out what's going on. So she went to the DA's office. They talked, came back. She goes, oh, they're not looking for you. They're looking for this guy, Joseph Hines, that leased your vessel. Okay, so our DEA had investigated all the crew, and they had a document that said exactly what was going on. The son admitted to what he did, admitted that he did it with his dad. So they were looking for this guy. Apparently, during this time, so I sat there for 3 days, same routine. I'd go to the lawyer's office, and she would go, nope, not looking for you. Any more information? And nothing really came about. So I went to the last day was Friday. I was supposed to go home. My flight was scheduled to go home on Saturday, and the lawyer said, I want you to sign a power of attorney because we're going to represent the vessel, and you can go ahead and go home. And I said, okay, no problems at all? No problems. So what was happening behind the scenes is Mr. Joseph Hines paid $1 million to get out of the country. He goes through Haiti and disappears, leaves his son here. I'm sitting here. They need somebody. I'm the dumb gringo, and I'm sitting here waiting. So I have permission from my lawyer to leave. I go to the airport, call my wife that night, and I said, hey, gonna be home. I see you at the airport. She's gonna pick me up, and we'll go out to lunch or something. And so I went to the airport, get to the airport, and check my bag and get a boarding pass, and I get a tap on my shoulder. And the guy comes up and said, come with me. They put handcuffs on me, took me to the interrogation area. And the DEA guy, U.S. DEA guy was there, and the Dominican DEA guy was there. So they interrogated me for not long, like 15, 20 minutes. They said, where's Joseph Hines? And I said, how am I supposed to know where Joseph Hines is? I mean, it had nothing to do with me. So that was really the only question. They read me my Miranda rights and said, this is what you're looking for. So they sent me to the extradition branch. I don't know really what was going on behind the scenes, but it was nasty. I think the next slide. Yeah, that was the next step after that. So the extradition, I was begging to go into a reasonable area. The bad area was much worse than that. So they said, okay, go ahead. Now, this is the second time God spoke to me in this whole ordeal. When I went in, they're really friendly. Everybody's being extradited from places all over the world. That night, they set up rows of chairs, and they had a Bible class. And amazing. I thought, wow, this is excellent. This is what I need. And I'd been crying and terrified. And I don't remember what verse I got, but I remember the gist of the verse. And the gist of the verse was that God so loved us that he gave his son for the forgiveness of our sins. And he loved us with so much passion. And the guy I remember saying, he goes, "Hey, you're a Christian, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I am. I am a Christian." He said, "All right." So I think that was God preparing me for this whole ordeal. I went into this place right here. I stayed there for 30 days. This was the very end of my prison experience, where I figured out how to bribe myself into getting a mattress. It was a cushion, and I think I still had a bottle as a pillow, but it was dirty. It was filthy. I paid 500 pesos a day. So the way they did this, I went to the holding area and for 30 days, and they were trying to extort money out of me. So they stuck me in this really bad area. This is a very, very nice area. This is 500 pesos. So they stuck me in this bad area, and these guys started beating me. I didn't know if I should fight back or if I should scream or what. There's 3 of them, and they said, "Give me money, give me money, give me money." So the only thing I could think of is scream. So I started screaming, and the guard comes running over, and he goes, "Hey, I'll tell you what, I'll let you out for 500 pesos. I can put you in a different room, a cell." So this was the cell I got put in. 30 days there, they finally had a little hearing, and they said, "We're going to investigate you for 3 months." And I said, "But my mom's sick. I can't afford 3 months of living and not being able to see my mom." "Hey, you're going to be investigated." The crew was completely separate. The entire time they were separated from me, and they were being investigated for a year. So they're doing all their due diligence or whatever. So my lawyer said, "Okay, we're going to send you to prison. It's safer and it's cleaner. You have opportunity." I said, "Okay." So I went into prison, and it was horrible. There were no phones. There was a phone that was shared between 50 people. So there's all sorts of arguments, and one of the guys I knew, I guess he was my friend, he's a Greek guy, he hit somebody so hard, knocked him down, hit his head on a rock and died. So he's in for 5 more years. I don't know how that works, 5 years for murder, but so everybody's fighting for the phone. I didn't have an opportunity for the phone. That was the big issue for me, is not being able to communicate with my wife, my dad, my mom, and my kids. So that was tough. That prison was supposed to be a model prison that was modeled after the United States. It wasn't. They were stealing the food. So we'd have, for breakfast, we'd have chocolate water. They'd have lukewarm water, and they put a little chocolate powder in it. That was breakfast. For lunch, we'd have plastic bowls with chicken fat, a little rice, probably about that much rice in a bowl like that. And the chicken, they're supposed to give us chicken, and they'd steal a chicken meat off the bone and sell it in the market and sell it amongst the other prisoners. So we got chicken bones. We got rice and chicken bones for lunch. And then for lunch, we got Johnny cakes. Those are fried bread. We got 3 Johnny cakes. It took me 9 months to figure out the system. So I didn't want to speak Spanish, because I was afraid if I tried to understand and learn Spanish, then I was afraid that they're going to try to take advantage of me, or I thought it was a better move just to be by myself and not interact. These are criminals, and they're scary. There's 2 brothers that were in the main prison area that raped and murdered their grandmother. I don't understand. I mean, so I was there for 9 months. I went to court 13 times. Each time I was going to court, my friend, who's now a DA here in Harris County, he would come down to support me. He worked with my lawyer. He actually got me another lawyer when he became a DA in the middle of this, and that came down pro bono. And I always had support from my community. We went to the politicians, and that was a big move. Our lawyers were always saying, "Keep it quiet, don't worry about it, everything's going to blow over." And 3 months into it, I missed every court appearance because they put you in a little van and they handcuff you at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you're sitting handcuffed in a Wawa, a little bus, and you're waiting for your court appearance. It's 9 o'clock. It takes 2 hours to get there, and you leave at 9 o'clock. And then when you get there, they say, "Well, why aren't you here?" And I said, "Well, I'm not driving the Wawa. I mean, how am I supposed to get here?" So then you miss your court appearance, and then the court appearance isn't 2 days later. It's 6 weeks later. So you're just waiting, and they're extending it. And so we said, okay, we have to explode this. Darkness doesn't like light. We gotta show everybody what's going on. So we reached out to Kevin Brady. Fantastic man. He listened to us, our community, all my friends that I play soccer with in the Woodlands, my church, Pastor Jeff Wells, all came together. We went into Kevin Brady's office, and he said he's never seen so many people in his office. And he said, "Let us do some due diligence on this guy. Make sure he is what you say he is." So they did some due diligence on me, background check, all that stuff, and they said, "Okay, we're going to stand up. We're going to stand up for this guy." His chief of staff is Dave Davis. I called him Uncle Dave. He called me in prison. We had a public that same phone is I had to arrange a time, and he called me and said, "Hang in there, Larry. Hang in there. We're gonna get you out." So many miracles happened that over that period. We had blood diseases from the water. We were bathing in buckets. So we had a 5-gallon bucket, and the water we were bathing in was coming in from vats that rats had died in. So we were all getting this bloodborne disease, and I had boils under my arm, and they didn't. I was the only American in the prison system, Caucasian American in the prison system, and they didn't like me because I was reaching out to the embassy, saying, "Listen, these things are going wrong. We have tainted water that we had dysentery and malaria and one other, but they gave us this giant pill. I don't know what it was, but people are dying. There were 2 guys that died of dehydration." So I called the embassy right away. I said, "Listen, we don't have water. We don't have water to drink. Please, this is ridiculous." And they came in, and it was changed like that. The State Department came in because of Kevin Brady's influence. It changed. So they didn't like me at all. There's so many miracles that happened that it's in this limited time, I can't tell you what happened to us. But we got a letter to Jeff Sessions. One of the ways we did this was a guy in the community in the Woodlands, once again our community, just like OCF. He was sitting in church. He heard about my story, and he was at the Houston, the Woodlands Methodist Church. And he was sitting there, and he heard about my story, and he belongs to the Chamber of Commerce, the ICC. And he's been involved with situations like this before. And he said God laid it on his heart as the pastor was preaching to help me. And he said it was really weird. He said, "I'm not one to believe in things like that." He was saying this. He said, but I got this pressure on me. His name was Reggie Gray. He was one of the ones that he actually came down to Dominican Republic, got on public television, and said, listen what you're doing. Look what you're doing to this guy. I was on television, Dominican Republic, twice. My name was there twice. The second time was December, where they ran a special on me. They said, this guy, these are all the facts, and this is what's going on. And the public outcry was saying, well, if you can do that to an American, what are you doing to our own people? So we got this letter to Jeff Sessions. From what I understand, it went all the way to Donald Trump. I had been in prison for 15 months waiting for a trial, just a trial. That's it. They kept on putting me together with the crew, and they're manipulating all these things, trying to hold me. So after we got this letter to Jeff Sessions, there's a famous case called the Aldebrecht case. The Aldebrecht case is a international construction company, and there's money laundering and all sorts of things going on. The Dominicans wanted information from the U.S. government, and Dave Davis and Jeff Sessions, and I don't know who all was involved, but they said, listen, we have a constituent there that is there illegally. Take care of that. Within a day, I was brought to trial. The crew was brought to trial. They put me together with the crew again, and there was the black masks were all around me, and that was the first time. The first time they had these armed guards, 4 armed guards with me that were pushing me around. Before, nobody cared. Nobody cared about me. I was going to disappear. And I went into the courtroom. The 3-panel judge, 3-judge panel, and that was a miracle in itself. I had been moved to three prisons. The 3rd prison was a blessing for me because I got a phone. The phone allowed me to call my wife, call my dad, talk to my sons, and I didn't care what the situation was. I got out an hour a day if it was not raining, or if they felt like it. But that was a blessing. So I went into the courtroom, and they said, the prosecuting attorney said, he made a deal with the crew. Said, listen, you lie against this guy, and we'll say this vessel was caught in international waters, and we'll give you 5 years. If it's caught in Dominican Republic, mandatory 10 years. They said, oh, obviously we're gonna take it. So got up and he said, Davis, we want 20 years. Crew, you guys get 5 years. That's what I'm prosecuting for. So I'm devastated, crying. I thought this was going to be Jeff Sessions, Donald Trump, done. That wasn't the case. So they got up, they started lying, and my lawyer actually did a good job. She said, well, how'd you talk? He said, the gringo did everything. He organized everything. He said, well, how'd you communicate? They said, well, I talked to him. He said, but he doesn't speak Spanish. So, and then his testimony went downhill, and he refused to answer any more questions. So when you get to court, when you get to a jury like this, all the people that I talked to, including the people in prison, I had 2 judges in the prison, the maximum security prison that I was in. They said, it's not a matter of if you're guilty, it's a matter of how much time they're going to give you. You're going to be in here. You're going to be in here with us for a long time. I said, all right. So I'm terrified. I'm praying. I call my wife. My wife said, Larry, I had a vision, a dream. God's got it. God's got it. You're safe. Went in. The trial went 3 days. 3 days, and for the first time in my lawyer's 25-year career, the judges, the 3-panel judges, they said, this guy is innocent, and it's disgusting what you did to him. Talking to the prosecuting attorney, keeping him for a year and several months. My mom passed away while I was in prison, and my community again reached out to me. Pastor Jeff got all the board members together from church. They called, and that's what got me through. All the prayers for the community. I was released. I thought I was gone. I had a friend that I play soccer with. He's a narcotics police officer. He was there because my friend Nathan Beadle, DA, couldn't be there. He was there, and he gave me a hug. I was crying, and I'm ready to walk out. They handcuffed me to the captain who just got sentenced to 5 years. They took me upstairs and to the same place. This is when as soon as I got declared innocent, that's where I was, right there. And they said something was going on. I was there for 3 extra days. I couldn't figure out what was going on. What was going on behind the scenes? The lawyer said I did a great job, and I need a bonus. And if you don't give me a bonus, then they're going to appeal your case, and you're going to be here for several more months, and they may come up with a different decision. So we said, okay, here's your bonus. Paid your bonus. I was out in 2 hours. They took me back to prison, came back. I was free. I went to get my passport. They wouldn't release my passport. And the State Department guy, his name was John Robbins, became a very close friend of mine. He didn't go on vacation to come to some of my court appearances. And he said, come to me. If you have a problem with your passport, come to me. So I went to him, and he said, I'm going to get you your passport, but come back here in the back office. And I walked in, and everybody started applauding me. And they said, we want to let you know that we're praying for you. And broke down in tears. I gave everybody a hug, and I said, I can't thank you enough. You guys, each one of you that were praying for me, you have no idea how much influence you had in this decision, because this is nothing short of a miracle. I was supposed to get 20 years, and that was understood. The $1 million just determined that. Everything determined that. So all the people that were praying, everything was going on. They gave me a passport. John said, Larry, get out of Dominican Republic. So the only flight was out of Punta Cana, and it was a 2-hour trip, and we had an hour and a half to get. We had like an hour and a half to get there. Yeah. So we're roaring down the road in the car, and it was a beaten up old car, and it was the only thing we could find. The car stops. It just dies. It goes, and I'm like, God, please. And my buddy Richard Wolf, the narcotics cop, he goes, well, let's do something. And I said, all right, well. So I started praying, and popped the hood, shook some wires, and boom, starts up right there. I said, oh, thank you, God. Thank you. All right, we're off. So we get in there. The lady for United, she was waiting for us right outside. They got us. They rushed us into the airport. Went to immigration. John said, listen, you have to be careful because you don't have an entry visa, so they may give you problems. I when she looked at me, looked at Richard. She goes, you don't have an entry visa, an entry stamp. And I said, this is a brand new passport. I didn't lie. This is a brand new passport. I just got it today. She looked at the date. She goes, okay, go ahead. So she shooed me through. We were the last people on the airplane. Wheels up. Got to IH. There was somebody there waiting to meet us. The immigration guy. He whisked us through all the way through. We didn't have to do anything. Then the media was there. The media said, all right, asked all the typical questions. They said, what are you hungry for? You've been away for 15 months. And I said, Rudy's Barbecue. And that's the first thing that came to my mind. And Rudy saw it on television and said, hey, here's a $100 certificate. And it also catered my mom's funeral when we got home. And I'm unbelievably blessed to be a part of a miracle for my brother, miracle for me, and my community. And one thing that I will never, ever do is not listen. I will listen for the rest of my life. And listening, now I was in the oil, I was a 2-week on, 2-week off guy in the oil field for Petracat Energy Services, and the owner stepped away, and he said, he said, "You want to give it a shot?" I said, "Yes, sir. I have a little money, not a lot, but I'm willing to give it a shot." So now I'm the owner of a small company that that runs mini fracs and frac monitoring. So truly blessed. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.